Hello, everyone. I am Chris Falco from Falconian Productions, and I have been storytelling for.
Andrew, I was playing Mason, who was a upstanding member of the Pentex first team and a Doncaster one.
Ethan, who played Dolores Star, the local heart eater.
And Alpha Wolf, I joined late, but I was playing Goth Lady in the past few episodes.
And we, of course, do not have Akilnos, who was playing Henry, the infernal programmer, who was in the first half of, well, more than half of the series. But we'll talk about him a bit as we go. So, for everyone who didn't actually pay attention to the title of this is not a session. This is just us shooting the crud about the season 1 of the game. I have absolutely nothing in mind for exactly how this is going to go and what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure it out as we go. So, I guess to start off with, we can talk about characters and, more or less what you had in mind when you went into it, what you've liked about playing them, what you haven't liked, what you might change about them, and things like that. We'll also start left to right, so Mason has to go first.
Sure. So when I made this character, I was just sort of like, well, I'm going to be the Doncaster, I'm going to do lots of fighting. So I made a passive soak build based around doing a single attack a round. That just sort of happened because I don't really like extra actions as a rule. They're not very, I don't find them particularly amazing. And then Hungry Tiger technique leapt out at me, and that just sort of doubled my damage or more anyway. So I was basically I had no level 3 charms until halfway through the season. I think I have 2 now. So basically I also realized that what we're doing, we're fighting lots of spirits and demons, so I took ghost eating technique. And then as the season went on, I started taking a couple more social things, but Henry was also doing a lot of that. And then later Alpha Wolf, so I picked up one of the solar social charms, but not a ton of them. Yeah, so as to where the character might go, we'll see. All sorts of stuff are interesting. It depends on kind of what we're doing. We keep threatening that we're gonna drag the campaign down to Mexico, and because we need lots of money very quickly. How are we gonna get it? It's well, we could play the lottery. I'm well, that's kind of lame though. How are we gonna? What if we rob the cartels? That sounds cool. Let's do that. So and then
of course, that
Falco is making
inevitably
threats.
leads to the Sabbat.
I mean,
and vampires and whatnot. Which
right.
I'll get into this later, but I specifically made a thing of not focusing too hard on vampires.
Yes, actually, we still we in fact we actually owe the prince a meeting, assuming we even bother. Right? If we stick around Vegas, we probably need to go deal with. Hey, we stole $20 million from the Giovanni and need to talk to the Venture about it. Not that we know those names in character, but
right. Well, I think you know Giovanni.
Yeah, I think the guy actually just had it as his name, but we did get the phone number for the head vampire of the night guy.
Yes,
from
your
the demon, and
demon
we're gonna call this guy tomorrow, and then just never really got around to it.
Things have been busy. Yeah,
it's entirely possible that Henry might just get assassinated because we forgot to deal with the Venture Prince and take care of that.
I mean, they already tried to assassinate you once.
We didn't even notice.
Up is easier.
Where do you think the Tyndall Hounds came from?
Oh, okay.
I made a specific point that they were magically controlled, so you couldn't reason with them, and that they don't normally stick around the Shadowlands area, or the area close to the mundane world.
Yeah, although they would have to I didn't expect that with Giovanni because they wouldn't expect us to go into the physical, into the Shadowlands, because that's really hard for vampires.
Right, but maybe they were sent to look for you and just ran into you there instead of wherever they were gonna.
Well. Yep. So that's me.
Yep. Peter, why don't you talk about Dolores a bit?
Okay, so yeah, I started Dolores off trying to be oh, this timid mailroom person that totally in above her head and so on. But as it turned out, that the heart eaters have been put in such a way that it's hard for you to really not get into the heart eating stuff. Pretty much like expression on empathy and performance as cast or like the eldritch abilities. So I was already primed to do like half of my charms properly when I got them anyway. So that was interesting. And yeah, definitely built her more as a perception kind of person. And yeah, she did excel at that, especially when we were in the layer, but then we started going out of the layer and so on. So like, it's kind of hard to balance something like that in a game, in a session where you have one character that wants to just stay in one place, and usually that's not how things go, especially in Exalted games. But yeah, it was interesting doing all the layer stuff, but as we later found out, talking to Holden about the Hatiya stuff, like, oh, it's actually very visible when they're marking the layer. You're actually having a bloodbath there and just marking all the walls and everything. They're just like, oh no, I cut myself on paper and just wrap that into the frames of the doors.
I mean, there are plenty of, like, basements and rooms that people aren't supposed to go into, I figured you can make it work.
Yeah, it will definitely be way more noticeable in a busy office environment, but whatever. And yeah, what else is there? Yeah, she started off with the layer stuff, then got into a little bit of the mind control and what have you. And yeah, definitely still more room to grow there.
She's a pretty effective spy too. Even without like being in the layer, like just going outside and sneaking around and looking at people.
I mean, she's good at perception and what have you. She's not that good at sneaking, so yeah, she can definitely observe things and pretend that, she's innocent and didn't do anything.
Right.
Sure. So, would you play another Heart Eater or keep playing her in season 2 for that matter?
Like, I'm not sure really. It's like definitely they're more suited for more manipulative characters or doing something more social. It seems that we're doing like a little bit more combat encounters, which she isn't that great at, and Hardys don't generally have a great suit for it.
I mean, the increased amount of combat was more towards the end of the season, just because you're kind of getting to the point where you're grading up against everyone, so they kind of had to do something about it. But as we get into a new season, I'll get into that more in a bit. But basically, I see things simmering down a little bit. Yeah. So
Yeah, so it should probably be interesting, like some kind of vampire social game or what have you. But yeah, it would be kind of hard to get into that. We'll see.
All right, and Alpha.
Well, one of the things I had a pet peeve with, but this is because it came later in the season, is I built a very social character, and I only got to do so much with it for most of the episodes, except maybe the last one, because the last half of the season was more combat oriented, and that's where I came in.
Yeah.
And so I had to really buff up my combat stuff in order just to survive the fight. My other regret, which, as weird as it sounds, because I came in thinking, oh, I really want to play an Abyssal. I feel like, granted, I haven't gotten the best sample size of sessions yet, but part of me is just thinking I should have played a Solar, which is unfortunate because I think Abyssals could be really cool. So, would I continue to play Goth Lady? Yes, I would love to see a potential redemption arc where she somehow manages to cleanse her Abyssal exaltation. That'd be really cool. But
yeah, that's definitely doable. That's the kind of thing I'm happy to look at.
There is that one charm.
Yes, there is the one charm, but I'm looking looking at possibly converting her into a Solar at some point.
Right. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like buying that charm would be a prerequisite for this redemption
Yeah,
arc,
that's
but
like a
would not
first
be the
step
entire
kind of.
redemption arc.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, past that, I don't have anything specific in mind. So let's go back to some of the points I was already making. So, I keep saying so. Anyway, as we progress through the season, yeah, things did kind of go from social to combat because my initial thoughts and assumption were playing a little bit of spy versus spy and working at Pentex from within, but eventually it got to the point where you kind of grade against so many higher ups that I have to send at least some amount of combat your way. um, and obviously, a season, it's really hard to do a season finale that isn't a big combat and to make it feel like a big season finale, at least in XWAD. Like,
Heist.
I mean, now I'm thinking like how I would plan one, right? It's like I'm gonna have a masquerade ball or something,
mhm.
right? With like social conflicts, and you have to, I don't know, elect the president of the city or whatever.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I'd have to have it in mind like when we started and build up towards it. And I will freely admit, as we started this, I had like a loose start goal and a loose thematic of, working against Pentex. And then I kind of just set you all down and looked at where your feet took you and tried to build up from there.
That worked great, I thought.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm very much looking forward to season 2. I'll be here playing Mason again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think like maybe it was like sometimes maybe the context was stuff like, oh, like what we fight. We started with Nexus Crawler because okay, we have to start something. We had I don't know, we went to the talk with one of the majors, and the other majors said they hit on us, but archives didn't know really why and who and so on. We got attacked by the Hounds of Tindalos. We also didn't know why it was there. We were like, oh, maybe it's because it's Pentex keeps those as hounds or whatever. And then
Yeah,
the final thing, like, okay,
The
that,
first thing our
sent
characters
this.
are gonna do is
that's
we're
kind
gonna
of
look
a
at
thing.
our
If you don't look into it, it's kind of hard to make it clear because they don't want it to be clear. They're not like,
It's like,
they're not going to send the Tyndall Hounds with a note pinned to their collar that says, "This is because you were mean to the Giovanni."
right.
like
On the same time,
even
right? We're
how
totally
do
gonna
we
look.
look into this?
We're gonna look at like our Pentex first team members and be like, so which one of you are exalted now? Because that's how we did it. I'm sure it'll be the same for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which one of you glows?
Well, there might be some things about lesser types of glowing that come up in season 2 that I had vague ideas for, but I didn't have time to fully build out for like I could have thrown it in, the idea I had. I'm obviously not going to get too into it, but let's just say I want to play with some of the hunter things and the implications that the hunter changes their conviction and stuff might be split up exalt souls.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
In Cute Hunters. Yeah.
yeah. The background I had in my head was that they were in for a long time. Was that there was like the "You Can Be More" charm that feels like a really successful result in a modern era might be an imbued hunter.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely be a thing. Like if you wanted to use that to make hunters instead of mages, I would be all over that.
Yeah, it makes more sense, kind of. I mean, it
Right.
depends on who you're doing it to, maybe too. Like the
Yeah.
results may vary based on who is getting the bonus, and how you're giving it out.
Mhm. What the player wants and what makes for a good story.
And also what the character wants and what the receiving character wants, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're using your "I Can Be More" to like open their eyes and see the wider world, and then maybe they decide they hate it and they're like, I'm gonna get the conviction to kill all of it.
Right. Yeah, it's not always going to go your way. And I feel like that's also a good way to stop like the, awakening factory, win the Ascension War by putting solar in the sanctum and just churning people through. Like, whoops, this guy wasn't ready for that. He's a hunter instead.
I mean, creating an army of imbued hunters is also not a terrible plan to win the Ascension War.
If it works, like
Yeah,
there's no
not an
saying
easy
they
thing to
would
do.
want to be on your side.
Well, I mean, you don't do it to people you don't like, basically.
Well, yeah, but I was saying like, you know, the theoretical problem of just churning out a bunch of random people
Yeah.
obviously
Just
would
do
be a
Tiger
bad
Warrior,
idea. Mm,
and then you have your elite crack team of whatever.
I mean, you do it logically, right? Like you build your Tiger Warriors, then you pick out the best Tiger Warriors, and you can be more on them, kind of deal.
right.
Yeah.
Which is why I am a Dawn with Zenith favorite, because that was sort of like on my list of things I wanted to try.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that's something we could get into. Like, we did have kind of like a split in the game towards the end because we had a bunch of problems with scheduling, and it just kind of hit the point where it was hard to focus on a bunch of different stories. So I was just kind of trying to cobble everything together to a point where we can find a pause point and then
Right,
start fresh next season.
Let's do the main plot line and get that. I mean, because also first seasons are kind of like that was a tutorial sort of thing.
Yeah, we were finding our feet. And like, yeah,
I guess it was
I
also
definitely have some
hard.
cool. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I guess it was also like kind of hard to square between like, oh, one character wanting to be fighting, one character wanting to be social, one character wanting to be, oh, guys, I'm not with them, I didn't do anything wrong, let me just leave here because I'm the heart eater, and so on. Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
also made a heart eater because you wanted to try heart eater rules, and
Yeah,
you did, and now you have a result.
yeah, they are definitely interesting.
I will say the abyssal zombies could use a bit of a buff.
I mean, that was as much me just kind of throwing them in a group. I think if they weren't like a last minute thing and that was like, you know, you got a size 3 thing of them churned up and ready to put against lesser enemies while you did something else, that would work. But yeah, they're not really great for just.
Could you take the zombies and give them some kind of Tiger Warrior equivalent training in Abyssals, maybe?
They actually have a charm for that.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
So
like
there's probably-
Tiger Warrior zombie charm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can probably make your zombies better. And
Definitely, like feedback for Holden would be like group on group combat needs to be faster.
Yeah, I did not at all like trying to deal with fucking attacking everyone from everyone. And then
it can
doing
bog
it
down and-
again because it's a size 2 group. I can only
Yeah.
imagine if you tried to fucking use size 4 to 5, like, oh my god.
Well, part of it is that these rules are clearly borrowed from like Sin Nominee books, and they're using OSR rules, which has a faster combat action,
Mhm.
right?
I think they're like translated from Exalted DMake, where like the groups spread over multiple zones and I attack everybody in the zone and so on and so
But
on.
then they have to have a whole rewrite of the combat section.
Yeah,
And like
they
I'm
work
a fan
differently
of-
in DMake.
I'm a fan of making the smallest change possible to accomplish the goal. So I would do something like when a group attacks another group, they inflict size damage.
Yeah.
And like you don't need to roll or anything, they just do it if they're in range. On their turn when they're attacking everything.
Honestly, what I would do is instead of size being the number of attacks, make size the number of bonus attacks, but only target one thing at a time.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
Like,
definitely in Godbound they get multiple attacks based on like the creature they're built off of.
right.
Yeah.
And like you could always do it like you can't focus all of those attacks on one target if there are multiple within range or something to, you know, remove the focus fire aspect a bit.
Probably what
but-
I would do is I would try to streamline it and cram all of their. So the problem you have here is that if you try to make one big, like instead of having 5 attacks, you're gonna have for a size 5 army, we're gonna have one enormous attack, but then we get the soak one, so it's like instantaneously lethal.
Mhm.
So you'd have to do some kind of scaling that way if you're going to try and streamline it. Part of it is
The problem
damage
with
in
the problem with it attacking everything though is that like it's like okay, the base idea of using one attack roll is sound except if there are other groups they have their own defense value and then there are some people who are dodging, which fine, take it away for them, but then there are some people who have just like okay, add a difficulty if you attack me, and it's like ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I get it, and it's because it's from OSR where you just went against AC, and everyone has a flat AC value, so it's
Right.
you hit, you miss, and it's one. And then you get into damage rolls for everyone because instead of being like, okay, everyone takes 1d8 plus 4, and I'll roll it once. It's I roll damage for you, and then you got to roll soak, and I roll damage for you, and you got to roll soak, and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And that's a thing that that X20 does. Whereas in say Shadowrun, damage is always flat, and you only roll soak, which makes the
In
game very lethal. But so it's maybe not
in
perfectly appropriate.
in the demake, NPCs don't roll damage; they don't roll soak. Those are static. They only roll to hit.
Yeah, that would work a
So, yeah.
lot better.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
in the
and
end, we're
Yeah.
limited with what XWAD has as base, which is the actual World of Darkness
Yeah.
system.
yes, I
So-
mean, I would immediately adopt the NPCs don't roll damage as a house rule, though.
Yeah, that's not that hard to do. Just like, subtract a certain amount or have it
Yeah.
or whatever he uses for calculations.
Well, it's still better than having 10 individual NPCs.
Yes, it's definitely better than that. I was originally thinking along the lines of like trying to do it in phases, like you'd face the first team at a time, and the whole time the Nexus crawler would be hounding you. But then I was like, there's mass combat rules in the Black Vault, aren't there? And I decided to give that a try instead. Make it all happen at once, which was a chaotic mess. But
Yeah.
It did
So
emulate the
what-
chaotic mess of battles pretty quickly, or pretty effectively.
I still have no idea how to fucking challenge a soak beast.
Yeah, well,
I
was
did
worrying
get some
about that,
damage
too.
in with a lucky roll.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But-
really one luck will do it. Is the problem.
But yeah.
You don't attack them once per day. You attack them like 5 times in succession in separate scenes. So you run out of essence soon enough.
That's true, yeah. You had to face a Nexus crawler 5 times in one day.
I mean,
Well, that's the
so,
thing,
like,
though.
Other things.
That Nexus crawler you were facing, I buffed up to hell and back. Like I upped its traits from like 10 10 6 to like 15 15 12.
Yeah, it's
And
insanity.
I gave it extra actions, and I made it able to use its essence as a health pool and as essence instead of getting 12 fucking health levels, which is nothing against Exalts. I just did so much to it, and it still just barely got a good attack in.
yes,
Got
Yeah.
well,
one in. But,
Yep.
it also had the problem of it took so many turns to just whittle it down that, it wasn't exactly the most fun thing towards the end, I'm sure, but it was the only way to give it a statistical chance.
yeah, no, I get it. Like, it can be tough, and I think that's one reason Holden is nerfing like generic soak in, I guess, demake or maybe Black Vault.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, if he put the ablative soak rule in, that would be so much nicer.
yeah. Because I'm looking at this, and one of the problems we run into is if you're trying to balance for a dawn, no one else can really do much of anything. Usually.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Like, most of you are plinking off of that, which is why I put the lesser creatures in, or, the first team and the spirits and stuff, so you could futz with them, but you still had some bad luck there, because groups are also pretty annoying.
Yeah. For context for the viewers, the war avatar of Fenris has willpower 15, rage 20, gnosis 10. So it's pretty up there with Fenris's war avatar.
Right.
Definitely quite a bit less powerful in the rage department.
So,
but-
the idea behind the scenes is basically this is top of the line SPD stuff. Like, SPD uses dimensional science as their specialty sphere. If you use them as like the sub-faction rules, they're normally part of the Syndicate, right? Syndicate? Yeah, Syndicate's the ones who do money, and then they give money to Pentex, and then they work with Pentex and do weird spirit technology bullshit. And it's really cool, and it's why I love using them for this, because it's so perfect. And that's the thing, basically, I needed mage level bullshit to combine with werewolf stuff to have any chance.
Yeah. speaking of, I would love to do more stuff with the Guru in season 2. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I just need a bit of time basically to decide more about the sept and get that built up. Like I didn't have time to do that, which you came in at a bad time where I've just not had the real life
Yeah.
extra time for it. So, with some downtime I can eventually start putting that together and making you have more to interact with there, which I do intend to do because Werewolf and Mage are basically the central games for this.
Yeah, and I'm more than willing to assist you with that if you want.
Mhm. I mean,
because I
yeah, if
do
you have a bunch of NPCs you want to see, I am happy to let you do that, and I'll tweak them if I need to.
Yep. The game I know best is Vampire.
Yeah.
Just
For a
years
little
playing
more
too much
behind
of
the
it.
scenes, I actually do use the Mage of the Ascension Fallen Tower Las Vegas book, except a lot of the characters in there I have moved forward in time. So Ralph Cannon, for instance, instead of being like a mid-level worker type, is a lot older and has a lot better spheres and all that kind of stuff now, and he's now at the head of everything, and he's a major player. And one of the technocrats, I actually took their stat block and added in Mitchell. Mitchell's daughter uses Mitchell's stats, and then Mitchell has better stats.
Right.
Mitchell's daughter, who's also Mitchell, but
Yep.
that's also that's also a plot thing that's going to be a plot thread that's going to be tugged on when we have more of a chance.
Yeah, so I think the system is overall good. It just needs a couple tweaks in some places, which I mean, to be honest, can be said of any TRPG system.
Right. It has to deal with the World of Darkness system it's based on.
There's no perfect TRPG system, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Oh yeah. Well, what about GURPS? Don't hit me.
Perfectly round, as all things are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll my majory at you.
Speaking of system, I really like the a freebie XP system.
Yes, I was pretty happy with how that was working out, and I like that I know Holden will rage about that until the dying of the sun, but I think that works better for this. I think it encourages you not to min-max day one, so you can just build up later.
Yep. And Holden really likes the min-maxing day one for some reason, and
well,
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
His whole thing is that it's brain prions if you dare to min-max or something. It's like,
I mean,
I will admit there is like a compulsion there, but that's the thing. There's a compulsion there, and a lot of people have it.
And
it's not a case of I want to min-max. It's a case of if I don't, I am literally throwing XP away.
Yeah, literally, so Shadowrun 5th edition has the same problem, where if you make your character quote unquote correctly in Shadowrun, it's it's worth 1,000 karma, and then if you do it poorly, it's like 750, and you get like three or four karma a game session. So it's like the difference between like a year of making your character,
exactly,
or a year of playing your character, difference in character generation, depending on if you do it quote unquote right or quote unquote wrong.
And
it's more like if I don't min-max, the beast in my head will start screaming at me. So
exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, to some extent, I get some degree of need for min-maxing because you want to make sure not everyone is just a generalist and therefore all practically the same. You want to make sure that different people are good at different things, but there's a balance.
But yeah, there's a difference between I'm gonna do 2s and 4s as opposed to 4 1s and 4 5s. Or whatever it balances out to, depending.
Yeah.
When I made this character,
right.
I didn't add any charms, right? I spent all my freebies on skills and attributes, which I think is kind of how you're supposed to do it. And that's why I had like level 1 and 2 charms, no level 3 charms.
Yeah, the base freebie chart. Yeah, for anyone listening, we do tweak it very slightly because the base freebie chart doesn't give you a difference for affinity charms. We basically added an affinity charm line, which is just 2 times rating instead of 3. So normally, if you spend all your freebies on charms, it's pretty inefficient compared to if you spend them on abilities. But if that's the which is
Well,
also why we split normal and supernal freebies and give more supernal, just because that's how it's balanced.
Yep.
yeah.
So, let's see, is there anything else we want to talk about? Are there any NPCs you guys specifically liked or hated? I know I didn't put the most effort into them that I could have, but
It was interesting having a demon in Pentex, that's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, we did. It was very much like the Wolfram and Hart office here. We got all the weird people hanging out in our office.
Oh yeah, I loved Angel. Definitely have some of that
Maybe
influence.
maybe every office has a demon and we just don't realize it.
Exactly.
Who is the head of? Who is the person that absolutely just hates Dolores?
Oh, Gladys.
Yeah, I think encountering her a couple times in season 2 could be really fun. It would give me a chance to use all my fun social things.
I'm gonna have her like awaken or something.
Oh God.
Who
No,
hates Dolores? Well, there's the sound, there's all the spirits, and probably there are that near Giovanni also for stealing the money, and many people
Yeah.
hate Dolores.
Look,
I think Gladys should awaken or be an abyssal exalt actually.
Yeah, I don't
Just
think
the-
we kept really good track of your heart eater limit.
Yeah,
I
no, that
mean,
didn't really appear at all. In fact, I
Like,
think you might have
I
taken
have
like
on
2
my
points
notes.
ever.
we put
too.
people on the grudge list, but yeah, the limit itself, I don't think we really digged.
I mean, I tracked the limit. I got like 2 because I wasn't wasn't botching anything. I
Yeah.
wasn't using any
We
charms that used
we always make
limit.
sure to be nice to you.
Yeah, nobody humiliated me, and
Right.
so on, so on.
yeah, and
Mm.
I'll have to
and,
use
I mean,
Gladys as a limit generator.
Yeah,
actually, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a huge fan of limit.
I'm not either, honestly, but it's so built into the heart eaters.
yeah, heart eaters
Yeah,
especially.
Yeah,
Party
yeah,
Eaters
not
is
as
nice.
much as nightmares, but still.
I think it's definitely supposed to be like the standard ruck and run of life are supposed to wear on heart eaters, and they probably should.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good mechanic necessarily, but they should probably just gain one automatically every month or something.
Hmm.
And that's a terrible mechanic, but it clearly like, oh, the guy at the car wash like scratched your door, you get a point of limit.
I mean, like if you want, you can always get some more. But like another thing in teammate Holy trying to add more like charms that do more limit for like more splats and so on. But since Exalted Versus didn't have the assumption that everybody has limit, especially the normal splats, then you
Yeah, I
couldn't do
didn't
that
focus on
too
it.
much.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the end all or anything. Like, I'm not upset that I didn't get to send you on a rampage. It's just something that comes to mind. Like, it didn't really come up. It wasn't that hard for you to avoid it. And it didn't
Yeah.
really feel like you missed out on anything by not triggering it.
Right.
It's
It's
if
also
I triggered it, either go after the male person that messed up once, or I go after one of the Mitchells. Like pick your poison. So like, okay, do you want to initiate the fight with big NPCs now?
Right.
well, it's weird because she went from the lowest of the low to like in a position of authority, which being in authority doesn't really generate limit for you. It's like when you're supposed to be like at the bottom of the ladder and everyone kicks down at you and then you go on a rampage and kill them.
Right.
Right? You're like the coffee barista who, customers sneer at you every day.
Right. And it's hard to do that now with that whole place being your lair and everyone who fucking eats a cake in the office or a snack cake in the
your
office
personal
starts
property,
liking you. Yeah.
Yeah, plus she has so much like manipulation, so much everything else that it's hard for anyone to resist her anymore. So yeah,
Right.
definitely the social climb that goes from the mailroom to running this office.
Yeah. Now, once you start expanding outside of this office, you might have to, go to other places more often. Like you did a little bit, but mostly when you were trying to be sneaky anyway, so there wasn't a lot of interaction.
And actually, this is something, a small complaint about Fantasy Grounds, because this is something I noticed. It doesn't account for specialties very well.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
problem with this specific rule set, not Fantasy Grounds. It's a case of they didn't have a dice set that would do everything at once. Like, there's one that can like double tens, but it doesn't let you change the difficulty, and there's one that, is what we used for the cast, and I could program it myself, but I just did not have the spoons at any point to program that
Uh,
in.
that is entirely fair.
Yeah.
Uh,
There is like a World of Darkness specific rule set, but it's so like clumsy and unfinished I didn't use. I guess I could check on it again and see if it's gotten any better. But
It's worth a look before season 2, certainly.
yeah, something to look at. Because it helps a little bit just having the tracker and stuff and other tools on my end, but it's still not as
Yeah.
much as when I run like Pathfinder for a different group. That unfortunately doesn't like being recorded. that it has so much more built in for like their main rule sets that it's so
Yeah.
much better. And so I use it as a default now and just keep everything in it because I know how it works.
Yep. Once you get used to Fantasy Grounds, it's really hard to change.
Right.
And it's just like if you had 8 gigs loaded up into Roll20, you're like, I don't really want to do this over again.
Exactly.
yeah, I get that. But it's just a small thing I noticed that I know I missed out on successes quite a few times because I forgot to account for a specialty.
Yeah,
Because-
it's definitely something I'll look into for next time, one way or another.
Yeah. That said, DMake deleting specialties was not a bad idea either.
Honestly, yeah. Maybe I'll send you all back in time and we'll just play D-Make for season 2.
Thoughts.
Oh yeah,
I-
like with the Fantasy Grounds. I mean, there's that alchemy RPG thing that might be more programmable, something that we'll see.
Mm.
You had it yourself recently. Not sure how far they are along.
I do like base X Squad second quite a bit. It's just the battle group rules I think mainly that really need tweaking, because WAD is not a system by any means. It's just not designed for mass combat very well.
Right.
I mean, there is a lot of kludge in the system. There's a lot of things that could be made better, and already chatted with Holden about such things, but it's not something you can really fix in X versus because you're still relying on base, V20 everything.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
Right. So I guess next season we can look forward to, so long as you guys don't beeline it immediately for Mexico, we can look forward to some more werewolf stuff, some uh, more dealings with the technocracy and trying to separate them from Pentex, because they're definitely a big power base together here. And obviously, I mentioned it before, so I'll get into that really quick here. So every time I've listened to an actual play about Exalted versus World of Darkness, vampires have been like the first enemy, and honestly sometimes the only real enemy that past like one-offs that they focus on. And so when I came into this, I was like, okay, that's a thing. I don't want this to just be another kill all the vampires in the city. Like, sure, they deserve it, but let's focus on the corporation of worm people. And I think that's a better focus for it. And so I figured, like, yeah, vampires are around, but the idea is Pentex is a much more visible target that should take more of your focus is the idea. And
I mean,
go ahead.
I'm kind of a fan of, like, okay, so my character at least was sort of taking the approach of there could be an important reason for all these guys being around here, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what it is necessarily, and I can't unkill people yet, so I should figure that out before I start murdering them.
Yeah.
I should at least, if we're going to visit the Ventu Prince, right? I'm at least going to be like, okay, so explain to me in detail why I shouldn't just kill all of you, right? Like, just give me a reason. I want
Right.
explain to
We
me
can make this
vampires.
work.
Yeah,
Right. And like,
if I find out that they've got a stack of dead bodies in the basement, well, then I look over at the Abyssal and she does too, and I'm like, okay, so that's bad, but it's not like bad. Come on, keep going.
yeah.
Like,
The
did you
idea
kill
is
all these people, or do you just get them? Like, that's I need to know the nuances here.
see, what you should do is take after the technocracy, where they have basically ratings about how much they need to kill you,
Right.
or in contrast, how useful you are despite being a deviant. There's
Right.
like a whole setup for that. Like, they're actually less likely to kill off a useful reality deviant than they are to, let one of their agents just kill a civilian in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Technocracy
So,
are not good people. Anyone who thinks the technocracy are the good guys needs to fucking go drown in a lake. Just gonna say it.
right.
I'm
Well,
not
then
saying
again,
I'm not saying you can't have decent technocrats that you can pull out here and there, but no, the technocracy overall is terrible.
Right. I mean, the Ascension mages are also not always good.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
there are no good guys. There are only bad guys and worse guys.
but like, so at least vampires have a humanity limit, right? They take a penalty if they
right.
eat
I mean,
grandma. And mages are just like, whatever.
let's be honest. Everyone hates mages not because of the technocracy, but because of the Order of Hermes. Like that's why the vampires don't like them. That's why the werewolves don't like them. That's why most spirits don't fucking like a lot of mages. And so on.
I think the one splat very few other splats have a problem with is changeling.
Because most of them don't remember changelings exist.
Yeah, that and changelings just tend to stay out of everyone else's way a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I believe I can now hang out with changelings. I have I have the ability to see chimerical things, and I have the immunity to the mist
And stop
power.
the mists, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
only gonna bring so many books into this fucking thing.
Yeah.
I already had
at
to
least at time, right?
I already had to crack open Wraith, so
Yeah. Season 3, we can go into like the fairy realm needs your help.
yes, fairy Pentex has started to expand into the fairy Pentex.
Their ideas.
Oh,
Oh,
good. Write one down.
It turns out they're actually like good guys, and they just like mock the evil ones and pretend they're doing evil. Like in the
they're
same
the evil twirling their mustaches.
Mhm. It's like the
As
opposite
like-
of a normal corporation who pretend they're doing good while doing nothing but evil. Instead, they pretend they're doing evil and do nothing but good.
Right.
See,
All
look
those-
how evil I was, killing that billionaire and forcing all their money to go to the less fortunate. Oh
Mhm.
no. Whatever shall we do? How can we live with ourselves?
Exactly.
Like, it's what there's this. Oh gosh, now I need this. I need this to exist now.
I mean, that could work as like a plot point too, because like you make them start out looking like antagonists, and it's not until you actually dig into it that you go, oh shit, they're actually only doing good things.
Right.
They're just their existence is to mock Pentex.
Damn, I kind of like that. Anyway, we'll see what season 3 brings, as we said.
We're on season 2? I thought we were on season 1.
This is season
Yes,
1. We're
that's
saying after
the
season
joke, that it's a full season away before we bring them in.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
That
I
way
actually
you all forget about it by then.
I mean, good luck with that. But no, I think we have a lot of great potential ideas for a second season. I think, especially if Falco wants to coordinate it with us on some of our ideas,
Yep.
because I'm sure the rest of us have a few ideas we could throw out there, and he can toss into a blender.
Yeah, so the basic idea is that you've dealt such a this took all of Pentex's resources like in this part of the country to throw that kind of shit at you. Like that was not one first team from the local Pentex office. That was they brought first teams in from the state. That's why it took a week to organize it all, and they had these spirits and things that from different labs, and they had to call on SPD from 5 different places and so on. So
Right.
you
And
know,
we're
you
about
guys
10
you guys will have a calm for a while. And
Right. And
if you
possibly even during the
continue,
downtime, we'll,
if you continue to work against them while doing your own stuff, you won't have to worry about sudden sieges every week or anything like that.
We should take our own devs and then proceed from there.
Mm.
Much easier.
Oh yeah, and I totally plan on doing that sort of thing. For those who do not know, my character was initially based on a song by Disturbed called "The Vengeful One," and it is all about how society has been screwed up by corporations and the media.
Yeah.
So this character is supposed to be a vigilante against corporations. I haven't been able to do that very well as of yet, unfortunately. I hope to be able to bring that out.
Oh yeah, there's a big Pentex office still in the city. Like,
right. Probably going to go pay them a visit, or maybe just send.
I mean, you had a
So-
heist there, but you were
Yeah.
you pretty much went right to where you were supposed to go for that. But yeah, they
Right.
are a
But
big
they're
power
out of hit
base you're going
marks.
to have to deal with. Yeah, they're probably out of hit marks by now. You've definitely driven those down. Maybe some of the maybe I'll have some of the old clunky ones come after you. Like what was it, like the hit marks 1 or 2s that were basically like animated armor? They
The
bring
one
those
and
out
the
of
ones and
storage.
twos. Yeah, the ones and twos are the like clay soldiers.
Ugh.
I don't think they use those anymore. They're not even in the technocratic paradigm.
Yeah, they're like in Order of Hermes storage, if anything.
Yeah, I just would like to point that in the world of darkness, war crimes are not war crimes. The Geneva Convention is a Geneva suggestion.
Yeah.
And what?
Well, the main reason why we didn't go with the whole abolish all the corporation because we want to play in the corporation, which unfortunately clashed a little bit with the concept. But yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, like the whole thing was you were going to take over the local office to start with, was my understanding from the beginning, so I built it around that. They were not going to accept you doing what you wanted forever. And my thought on the matter is that you've got the local office to deal with. You won't want to walk in as who you are, but that doesn't mean you can't get some spy shit going on. There are all sorts of charms for that. And yeah, like I fully expect season 2 to start off very social again.
Sure, I'll pick up some Eclipse charms. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm also thinking Moonshadow just fuck with their bureaucratic nonsense.
Exactly.
That'll be fun.
Maybe I'll also get off my ass and make some other Exalt NPC here and there. But I mean,
Yeah, I think.
yeah.
Instead of Hitmark, we'll have an alchemical.
Yeah, they got to go up a tier.
Oh, and I mean, I'm friends with werewolves. I could totally use the werewolves as cover for some of the things that I'm not going to be doing as myself.
There you go. Pentex already hates the werewolves. What are they gonna do? Hate them more?
Yeah, right. Like,
Oh, when they send a Nexus crawler at your family's sept, you'll be like, "Oh, I maybe made a mistake there."
I'm pretty sure they're out of Nexus crawlers.
yeah. I mean, if their resources are weak, now would be the time to strike, theoretically.
Like the
Yes.
one that they sent at you this time was like, you've been there for how long has it been since you started? I think it's been at least getting into months. So
Like
you
that,
know,
yeah.
That was
Or
like
keep me
they
track
were
of the
they
date.
were starting to learn how to do that when they were sucking from Henry's infernal chrysalis.
Yep.
And they already had the process mostly down. They were just seeking a new power source, and then they just kind of went too far. Like, whoops, we figured it out, but didn't think we were going to figure it out. So there goes that
I did
office.
consider, like, if it hadn't melted all the guns, I was gonna grab one of their teleport lasers and just see if I could teleport it home and see what would happen.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so what those were was basically they were going to teleport you to something akin to a paradox realm.
Right. Well, I'm sure that would not have been pleasant for me to
Like,
punch my way out of.
yeah, it would not have. Not exactly a paradox realm, but I just mean like it's not quite a horizon realm, but something along the lines of this is technocratic dimensional science mumbo jumbo. You know,
Right.
something that would have been as sorry, as in like instead of the Umbra in general, where it's actually good for your essence, it would be another dimension where it's bad for you overall. Even if it's not quite
Sure.
a typical paradox realm, it would be very uncomfortable.
But on the other hand, now that technocratic construct has an angry
Yeah.
dawn in it.
Now, of course, my intention wasn't to actually put one of you out of the fight. My intention was to encourage
up
you to
resources,
buy the
yeah.
charms and, make those charms useful for you. And, if they had had the chance for it, they were going to start like teleporting the zombies there and stuff like that. If, they couldn't get a good shot at you.
Yep. I mean, that charm was literally next on my list. So when you're like, you should buy it, I'm like, I should buy it.
Yeah. I mean, the Nexus Crawler itself is, of course, a good reason for that, because it fucking
Yeah.
just does what it wants to you. I could have probably been meaner with the 5 successes and 6 successes ones that it got, but I like, it's such a thing where it's like 0 or 1. Like I'm either
Yeah.
not doing enough to help it, or I'm just saying it wins because it rolled high enough, and it's like, it's a very
turns the air to
difficult
lead.
balancing out. Right.
Unfortunately, Chaos Repelling Pattern only affects you. It
Right.
doesn't
So
really
like,
affect.
if it literally turned the area into a vacuum, that's only going to help you for so long.
Yeah, well, if you turn the air into a vacuum, what happens is the air just rushes in. But I see what you mean, right? Like,
Well, no, like if it like turned into with like a
on the
bubble on
outside.
the outside or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just lights everything on fire, or bursts plasma, or
right. Although, like, I assume it kind of moves with me, so I'd probably like it would. It's like that solar charm for moving through fairy realms. So it like the rules of creation work around you, but doesn't help the party.
right. When you're the subject of any supernatural power that seeks to transform and infect, taint, transport, or control your body or spirit, you blah blah blah. Success shatters the hostile magic, protecting you completely. Yeah, like it's arguable how much it would affect the outside area, but I probably would have at least made it so you don't insta die if I did decide to be that mean, which I didn't end up doing.
Right.
I
I don't think
could've.
it's supposed to do that to werewolves even, and they're much more fragile.
Right. Like that. I mean, part of it is Warp Reality is just a badly written charm. I'm just gonna say it.
Yes.
Nexus Crawlers as a whole are, and what I really should have done if I had like, another hour to put into prep is not even an hour, just like looked at it and said, okay, we're gonna remake this for the greater Nexus Crawler, which is
Yeah.
all I called it. I called it a greater Nexus Crawler.
Yeah, just give it some mage powers, basically.
Yeah, it was a
Oh.
Nexus Crawler that had like a time 3 effect for the extra actions, and it had some dimensional science bullshit that let it split its essence like it did. And is also how it was able to, weaken the wards in the surrounding area to let in other spirits. Because they knew by that point that the area was Gauntlet 9 and stuff.
I will say I did quite enjoy being able to use my various abyssal things to build an army. I just wish it was more effective. Because like
Yeah.
a lot of the specters, well, they rolled high enough, so that didn't do anything.
I mean, if you take
some-
if you take time to like get a long-term army of bodies going in like a nice basement, or like a nice corporate basement or something, a warehouse, you can probably start getting up to the like size 4 to 5 zombie hordes, and that'll start being something they would feel.
Oh yeah, no. The problem ends up being that with the character, that doesn't make sense for her to do.
True. You could start.
So
You could start working on hordes of specters instead. Get battle groups of specters.
Yeah, the issue is they can't really do much in the physical. So I think one of my main critiques with Abyssals is
Just
they
turn them
they're
into.
really good.
Mm-hmm.
They can be pretty decent, especially like the dusk cast and potentially day cast. Midnight has certain charms that are really good for social situations, but if you're not doing a social game or if you're doing more combat, you have some soak stuff, sure. That's great. But that's about all you've got.
We'll definitely get you some social stuff to do. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it's a matter of I feel like Abyssals do best when they're interacting with the underworld, which that's my other kind of regret with this is part of me wanted to engage with that more, but given the focus of the game, that didn't really happen. So
Yeah, it's
uh,
hard to really add in a layer of the underworld over everything else because you're already dealing with the spirit world a lot. So it's hard to like split between that.
so that's the other reason I want to have her maybe redeem her exaltation and turn it back into a solar, and I think that could be a really fun story arc.
Yeah, we can definitely find a place for that. You'll have
Uh,
to take a trip to visit Helios
Yep.
because you weren't there for
Anyone
the
will have
initial one.
advice, it'll be him. 'Cause, I mean, that was the first question we asked, right? We asked, how do we fix this guy? And he's like, maybe you can. I'm not quite sure how yet, though.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I had an
Figure
idea
it
how to
out
do it.
yourself.
And I'm like, I came up with a plan. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this will do something. Probably not. It probably won't fix your exaltation, but maybe it will.
Right. All right. It's getting late, so I think we can call this a good epilogue, post commentary, etc. thing. So,
Cool.
hope you all enjoyed season 1. Hopefully, season 2 won't take too long. And so, thank you all for listening. This has been Chris Falco with Falconian Productions, and you've been listening to Exalted vs. World of Darkness Pentex.